Hello, welcome to our IQ Panel Differentiators webinar. I am Whitney White. I do marketing for North America, and joining me today is Jason Horton. Jason, why don't you give us a little intro to you?
Sure. Hello, everybody. My name is Jason. I'm a technical account manager here at JCI. I've been here for about 5 years. Came from the dealer world, came from the installing world, but yeah, happy to be here and excited to get going here, Whitney.
Yes, we are. I'm excited that this is our first webinar that we've done together. So that's kind of exciting, if I don't say so myself. Just a couple things, you guys. We are recording this webinar. There is a chat option. So if you guys will locate the chat in your GoToWebinar control panel, let us know where you're from. I've got the notes up here so I can see you guys when you type in. It's a good place to ask questions, give your feedback, and all of that. So we'll be monitoring it. And Mark Buckley is joining us today and helping assist with those questions and comments that are there. So far, we've got Tom from Connecticut, Frank, David Clark, Frank commented again, you're from Yorktown Alarm and Lock, Chris, David, Anthony, we have a ton of people on. Thank you so much for spending the time with us. We know your time is very important, so we want to jump in. One thing we want to start with are some polls. We want to get to know you guys a little bit so we can cater how we talk and what we talk about to you. So I'm going to launch a couple polls. This first one, are you currently installing Qualsys or JCR products? Go ahead and select your option there. If you type it into the chat, we won't necessarily see your response. So fun fact, I don't know if you guys knew that. Okay, 95% yes. Okay, cool. 4% not yet. Great. Okay, we have an experienced audience here. That's fantastic. Okay, I'm going to close that poll. Let's do the next one. Which panels are you currently installing? We've got IQ Panel 2 Plus listed, IQ Panel 4, or something else. And if you are installing something else, we want to know what it is, because again, it can help us kind of decide what to talk about here. So put in the chat what else you're installing. Okay, we've got 18%, 22% so far, something else. 40% IQ Panel 4, great. Great, Kate, you guys, thank you so much for responding to the polls. It's very helpful when we're trying to lead a webinar and a discussion. Okay, last chance, last call to vote. Okay, we've got a lot of Neo users, awesome. Okay, I'm gonna close this poll down and we're gonna do the last one. Which feature of the IQ Panel 4 do you find most appealing? So is it faster, better range, having choices, the 8 megapixel panel camera, better sound, smart mount installation? If you don't know what some of those things are, that's all right, because we're going to talk about it today. So you'll know after today. If you see me looking off to the side, that's where your chat is. So I'm not just staring off into nothingness. Okay, cool. Ooh, a lot of people are interested in range. I love that. That's probably one of the hot topics with IQ Panel 4. Sound, a lot of people interested in sound. Smart mount, oh my gosh, Jason, are you so excited to talk about smart mount?
I am. We are excited about smart mount. Heard your feedback, yes.
Yes, smart mount is highly anticipated. Okay, guys, you're not voting on this one, come on. A little bit longer, we'll give it a couple more seconds here. There you are, there we go. Okay, range and then smart mount, awesome. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and close this poll and we are gonna jump right into it. Let me see if there's any questions or anything as well. Okay, perfect. Can you guys see my presentation? I have no idea if you can see the presentation. I can see it, but I'm not the one that matters here. So yes, Frank, thank you for responding. Okay, so let's jump right in. So the first thing, we want to start by talking about taking a look at the past. Differentiating features are not new to the IQ panel. IQ Panel 2 was kind of groundbreaking for the industry as well as the original IQ panel. Every generation we've introduced has had hardware and software features enabled that allowed it to be what it is today, right? So we introduced features that the industry really never knew they even needed, like Bluetooth touchless disarming, LTE and Wi-Fi dual path, the ability to see sensor range for legacy devices. And then we have all those other things like commercial support, installation wizard. We've done a lot of surveying our audience, so surveying dealers and finding out what it is that you guys need and really trying to build that out. And we've done that historically, and we've tried to continue doing that with IQ Panel 4. And I think that's one of the things that makes IQ Panel 4 a little bit more unique to some of the other competitors out there. And you know what? IQ Panel 4 comes, and we are so proud to say that it's the best IQ panel that we've ever built. Of course, now it won't. Next slide. Okay, so let's jump right in. The first differentiating factor is the one that you guys wanted to talk about most, or that you're most excited for, which is it's faster than any panel we've ever built. It has an 8-core system on a module. Excuse me, my mind is like going a mile a minute. So what that does is having a system on a module that's 8-core processor, right? It gives us the best response time and of any security panel that we have on the market. And IQ Panel 4 has better range, and it is better range on every one of the 6 radios. So LTE, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, PowerG, ZWave, and then you've got the legacy SRF. And that's all built into the panel. You don't have to do the dance of trying to locate what you need and how you want to build the panel. It all comes in one box, all in one. Let's see. Is that a video? Hold on. Yeah, LTE and Wi-Fi dual path, sorry. Okay, so PowerG was already the industry standard for long range encryption, but IQ Panel 4 pushes that range even further. So it gives you 5 times the range than legacy sensors, which is huge. Jason, do you have any experience with the PowerG range and seeing it in like use scenarios?
Yeah, so we obviously we love PowerG here at JCI. On IQ Panel 2, we typically said that it was about 4 times the range. We were getting just over 3,000 feet open air. That was awesome, right? We were able to do some very large dealers. In fact, we had some dealers that were doing 50,000+ square foot warehouses on IQ Panel 2. With IQ Panel 4, we've made some improvements. We've been able to fine tune these antennas a little bit better. We're now getting upwards of 3,600 feet open air, so we've been able to improve that range even a little bit further. So you will get better range using PowerG on IQ Panel 4. It's exciting. Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't taken part in some of the tests that you guys have done more recently, but I remember at ISC we did PowerG testing, and it was the first time I'd ever encountered PowerG, and I was blown away because if you've ever been to ISC, there's so much happening on that floor, and it just wasn't affected. So I became a PowerG fan way back then. So to see it in action now is totally mind-blowing.
Yeah, fun story. To put it to perspective, we do a lot of our range testing in here in Utah at the Salt Flats, where they do all the car racing. And 3,600 feet open air is a long ways. In fact, while we were filming that and testing, we had a drone that we were using to kind of show the shot. We were trying to fly it out to where the sensor was, 3,600 feet away. It was so far out we couldn't even see it. We lost the drone. The drone kept going. We couldn't see where it went. It disappeared. We couldn't find it. We lost the drone that we were trying to fly it out so far. We lost it. It's gone. It's sitting out in the Salt Flats, buried in the sand right now. So.
Oh, you actually lost it. Like you never found. How did I not know that? I'm in Utah with you. I didn't know that. Holy cow.
So far away, we couldn't even track the drone anymore. So there you go. Fun story.
It's so far we lose drones apparently. That's funny. Oh shoot. Okay, there we go. Okay, so ZWave Plus 700 series. It doubles the range for devices like lights, locks, thermostats, and everything that includes in ZWave. So I know that my house, I've got my security panel is on one side, and then the front door is way on the other side of the house. So I've totally seen a difference with ZWave Plus because the connectivity. Oh, we have a guest. Hi. Sorry. This is my son, Coulter. Can you go play? So that is ZWave Plus. And like its predecessor, the IQ Panel 2, hold on, please hold. This is distracting me. Now it's a whole family.
Yeah.
Hey.
While we're saying goodbye to our guest there, yeah, ZWave 700 is awesome. We are IQ Panel 4 standardizing on ZWave 700. We're seeing 100%, even a little more than 100% increase in range using 700 series ZWave card and a 700 series device. We're really excited about that. Range is never a bad thing, especially when it's 100% better than what we're used to. So we're really excited to start to hear feedback on 700 series and what you guys think of that.
Yes. Okay, so we have a question. Sorry for the interruption. My son needed me to turn on the lights. It's fine. Okay, Anthony asks, what are you seeing with range in a typical install with IQ Panel 4? Is it roughly half the 3,600 square feet? I don't know the answer to
Yeah,
that.
that one's a hard one to answer, right? And this is why we quote open air, because it's the only thing that we can copy and redo and use as a baseline for comparison, right? When, as you guys know, signal strength is so highly affected by environment, right? In my house and in Whitney's house, we're going to get different results. So it's really hard to say what indoor range is. I've used in the past kind of the divide by 10 rule, right? As kind of a rule of thumb. It's certainly not science, right? It's just a rule of thumb. So if a device has 500 feet open air, I like to assume that indoors I'm going to get roughly 50 feet out of it. Of course, that is a very rough estimate, but the divide by 10 rule has worked for me. So on a 3,600 feet open air sensor, call it, over 300 feet, 3,600 feet, in a building, right? And so that's just a rule of thumb. Again, I want to make sure that we understand it's just a rule of thumb. But to put it in perspective, right, going from open air to indoors is a totally different thing. So the divide by 10 rule is something we've used in the past to kind of gauge what we can and cannot cover when we actually get indoors, right?
I love hearing you talk about the tech side because I'm not as experienced in the tech side, but that's interesting. So you do the divide by 10 from open air into indoors, and that's kind of where you get that number. Okay.
Yeah, just because again, if we were to test indoors, no matter what indoor facility we're in, it's going to be different, right? Again, what, signal strength in my house and in your house is going to be, night and day difference, right? What's in between? Where's your kitchen at? What kind of, construction materials is the house using, right? Same thing from my house in Utah to a house in Arizona that's a lot of stucco, a lot of chicken wire, right? So, or going to Florida where you've got hurricane windows and stronger, buildings and stuff like that. So indoor range is just really hard to quote. It's just really hard to say, and that's why everybody quotes open air, because that's a controlled environment where we can maximize results and we can copy those results every single time, right? So everybody goes open air as kind of a baseline comparison. When you get indoors, it's going to vary and it's going to fluctuate, and that's why the divide by 10 rule has been helpful for me in the past to kind of gauge what I can and cannot cover. Certainly not science, certainly not a guaranteed 3,600 feet indoors. 360 feet indoors, right? But a good way to kind of just guess what you can cover inside, right? Of course, we have awesome tools on the panel. So when you actually get indoors and you're testing, we've got all the tools that are available to confirm signal strength, make sure it's good, make sure it's going to be reliable, right? So
yeah, it's the science according to Jason Horton. I think it's valid. There's a lot of people that are commenting that they love that rule. So I think you've got a good analogy on your hands there. Okay, so IQ Panel 4, like IQ Panel 2, also comes in 3 flavors. So you've got 319 megahertz, which supports our S-line devices. And then you've got PowerG 433, which also is DSC. And then 345 megahertz, which is Honeywell and 2 gig. Getting a lot of comments that people have a ton of legacy panels that they're looking to kind of upgrade and replace. So it'll work just like IQ Panel 2 does. You're not going to see any gaps there, which is something that we're pretty proud of. So the second differentiator is choice. So when we met with different focus groups of dealers, they loved the idea of having a choice, right? Who doesn't like, when it comes to doing things in your home and in your life, having options? So we kind of built that into it. So you've got the choice between a white IQ Panel 4 or a black IQ Panel 4. I know that for me, I was white all the way. I wanted white. I like it clean. I like it simple. And then I saw the black one and I was like, okay, maybe I might be able to be converted here. And then we put it on a table stand, and for some reason, I personally liked it on a table stand, which is the other thing you have a choice with this new IQ Panel 4, the table stand options. You can wall mount, you can table mount as normal, and then we also have the new IQ base table stand subwoofer. So you do have more choices than you've ever had before. And I think that'll appeal to a lot of different people. So here's wall mount options, kind of giving you a 360 view. And then the third differentiator, let me see if we've got any questions.
I like the black one, personally.
You like the black one?
It blends in the fabric and the camera hole a little bit better. And as you can see, my house has black hardware. That's popular. We're seeing more and more black windows, right, in homes. So my IQ panel mounted on the wall next to my door with the black handles and the black hardware looks awesome. I love the black. So that's what I love the black. Yeah.
That makes sense. I I have brushed chrome, so our house is a little bit older. You actually moved, so you're just right across like the main road from me now, right?
Yep, basically neighbors.
We're basically neighbors. I bet if we had PowerG and I had the panel, you had a device, it would communicate. That's how
Yeah.
close we are. Okay, so the third one is the panel camera. The panel camera is a new 8 megapixel camera, and it's pretty intense. Sorry, I'm like, there's videos and I can't get them to play right. Is this a video? Let me see. No, okay, sorry. Okay, so the panel camera captures 8 megapixel photos, and it has brilliant color clarity. You can see right there, like the photos are pretty dang awesome. We also enhance the view. So what you would normally see, you know, out of this photo right here is you'd see from the side of her face to maybe the lamp there. But now you can see it's 120-degree wide angle, and it lets you see more of what's going on in the house. So it makes those disarm photos a little bit more powerful. And then here's an example. So you can see a lot more of what's going on. I know that my brother has a system, and his daughter turned, how old was she? I think she turned 14, and she brought a boy home and he was hiding in the background, and the panel camera actually didn't catch it because he was hiding somewhere. And now he's since got the IQ Panel 4, and he tested it specifically with where that boy was standing to make sure that it would be visible. And I have another guest. I'm so sorry. Okay, so do we have any comments? Okay, perfect. So with that, we have the flex tilt adjust, and there's a little screw on top, and you can see here, it's actually a really good visual. You can see that camera moving up and down, and it's just a normal screwdriver that I think technicians love, right? Those little small ones. The flex tilt, I like this because where we had the panel mounted at our last house, it was a little too high for me, so you would catch, like I'd always go up on my tippy toes, but now it doesn't really, my husband can mount the panel wherever he wants it, and we just move that camera, and now I don't look like a gremlin with half my face missing. And then of course, when you consider table mounting, using it on a table stand, that angle is not great. In fact, Kelsey, who did our technical videos, she would always complain and show me her pictures from her husband when we worked in office together, because it was always just like a double chin nose shot. And so now you're able to adjust it and control that just a little bit more, so I'm a big fan of the flex tilt option because I have a double chin and I don't really need to amplify that. So sorry, he's wrestling the dog. Okay, so with disarm photos, there's so many different things you can do with it and so many ways you can use it. You can get it sent to your watch, sent to your phone. You can view them on the panel. You can get them. I have to mute. I am so sorry. Jason, will you talk more about the panel camera for me?
Yeah, sure thing. I'll first echo what Whitney said about the flex tilt. This was basically a feature that was built, 100% out of feedback from you guys, right? Yeah, we're mounting on tables, it's too low. Maybe the existing panel is too high, or same thing, too low. There are some requirements in, certain MDU style installations where you have to mount it really lower, 3 to 4 feet high. So this flex tilt is going to allow us to, adjust, no matter how high the panel is, we can adjust the camera, capture a good face shot of the person. No more chest shots, no more stomach shots, right? We can customize that. But as far as what the camera could do, right? We're doing the same thing we're doing on IQ Panel 2. We could do disarm photos up to a 4-minute alarm video clip. Of course, if you have the alarm.com image package selected as part of the service package, we can treat this camera like an image sensor. So we can go in and manually request peek-ins. We can do peek-ins next motion, all that good stuff. We've always had the still frame photos. We've always had the ability to push those to alarm.com to the backend, so we get them on our phone and stuff like that. We've never had that ability with the video. The video is stored locally on the keypad. Today, the video is still stored locally on the keypad, but we're very close with alarm.com to turning this camera on the panel into a live video camera. That's coming very soon. So here in the near future, you guys will be able to treat this camera like an alarm.com live video camera. You'll be able to go in and live stream what exactly the panel is looking at and view that from your app, while you're sitting on the beach in Mexico or whatever it is, right? You'll be able to pull up that camera and look at it as if you were looking at an alarm.com camera. So that's exciting. We've been working on this a long time. We tried to roll this out with IQ Panel 2. hardware wasn't quite powerful enough to do that and support that. IQ Panel 4 does have the hardware in place, so we're excited to finally get this feature out. And again, that will come probably early next year as far as it stands today. So exciting.
Perfect. Thank you. I am so sorry, David. I appreciate your comment that Coulter will eventually be a alarm installer. So I'm sorry about that. He's wrestling with the dog and they're fighting. It's super fun. So I apologize. Thank you, Jason, for talking about alarm videos. I personally will use the peek in video once it's available to watch their wrestling sessions. So that's what I'll be doing. The other thing that the panel camera, or here's the video that we can showcase. So this is the camera detecting motion, and it uses pixel change technology, and it lets you create easy automation rules like turning on the light and things like that, like you're seeing here. So there's a lot of different things that we've got going on with the camera, and then peek in now is an option available today, or peek in next motion using alarm.com, which really does set us apart from some of the other panels in the industry. And you capture the photo and it will send to your camera using the mobile device with LTE and Wi-Fi dual path. So it makes that, and again, when we're talking about faster, better, the 8-core processor, it's the response time's a lot better than it's been in the past. So you're getting those photos a lot faster. Okay, any questions so far? Okay, perfect. So the fourth one is sound. Quad sound speakers are built into every single system, and it's definitely the best audio we've ever put in a panel. The first time I heard the sound in person, we were showcasing to our staff and things like that, and it was in this big room. And when they turned on the panel, what they played Wipeout. I think it's what Ross played. Do you remember this, Jason? Were you there? And
yeah.
It was so loud. I was impressed with the sound personally. So behind the grill is the 4-watt speakers, and it's the best sound we've ever put into an IQ panel, the best speakers we've ever put. To give you a little bit of reference, IQ Panel 2 had 2-watt speakers. So it is a big difference. And the reason for this, we've got a lot of questions about why we focused on sound. And again, it was a request from the dealer base and our dealer audiences, and they wanted louder chimes, louder voice, and on-screen video tutorials. So that's specifically why we built it in. Of course, being the innovators that we like to try to be, we did some more stuff with that as well. So that's why we focus so heavily on sound. So two-way voice. So speakers combined with 3 MEM microphones specifically. They also have echo cancellation, and it allows for the best two-way voice really you've ever experienced. And live answer video doorbell as well. And live view indoor cameras, streaming never sounded so clear and so amazing. I've got a neighbor gal, Eden, that comes over all the time and wants to play with my daughter Everly, and I can talk to her without even skipping a beat using the panel. So that's why we have all of those improvements with sound and microphones. Okay, let's see. Yes. Any questions on speakers or sound? Okay, I think Mark has got it handled. Okay, so music streaming is one thing that we've kind of innovated with the speakers for, right, with our sound. We've utilized music streaming combined with the bigger speakers that we put in place, and using the same connection as Bluetooth disarming. We used, I'm so sorry, my brain is moving a mile a minute again, I apologize. Music streaming uses Bluetooth connectivity to stream all your favorite podcast. For me, it's going to be podcasts. I listen to murder podcasts or true crime podcasts, so that's what I'll be listening to when I make dinner at night. But you can do Apple Music, Google Play, Pandora, whatever it is. So that's my advice, and I'm excited for the speakers for that specifically. Jason, what's been kind of the reaction as you show dealers and they experience the sound for the first time? Is there any response?
Yeah, I mean, you said it, right? One of the most, probably one of the top feedbacks we got from IQ Panel 2 was that it's not loud enough, right? And so we were trying to support Bluetooth speakers, and we had some other options, but this was something that we wanted to get right with IQ Panel 4, was enough sound. We wanted volume. We wanted to make sure there's no shortage of noise, right? So crank the thing up, hear your chimes at the other end of the house, right? That was kind of the goal here. Of course, we're big on two-way voice. We wanted to make sure that we had good speakers for that. Of course, the live streaming, using the, talking to the doorbell, all that stuff, right? All this stuff, sound really matters in multiple different, verticals for us, right? We want to make sure we have good sound. It just kind of made sense to enable Bluetooth streaming, right? Music streaming. We get a lot of questions. Why would you add Bluetooth streaming to a security panel? Why would you spend time and resources on this? The answer is it was easy for us to do. Why wouldn't we add that? It's whether you use it, whether you don't use it, it's additional value that you can use to sell it to your customers. It sounds fun, it sounds sexy. Again, maybe you use it, maybe you don't use it, that's okay. But at the end of the day, this is a step in the right direction, right? We want to do more with apps. We want to do more with voice integration. We want to be able to do more with the panel than just be a security panel. So, Bluetooth music streaming is a step in the right direction. It's a step closer to getting us to where we want to be with everything I just mentioned, right? So having good sound, being able to play, being able to stream music, it's just sending us down the path that we want to go down. So it's not that we spend a ton of time and resources and on this feature versus other features that dealers have asked for. It just made sense. It's an Android tablet. It's already supported. We wanted good sound for all these other reasons. Why not support Bluetooth streaming, right? So that's kind of how this came about. And again, it's putting us on the right path to support greater and better features down the road. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think you nailed it. I think one theme that I personally, with my need and what I would want, one thing I love about IQ Panel 4 is you can really cater it to be what you want as a dealer, right? And then in turn, the customer can cater it to be really what they want. If they want to use Bluetooth touchless disarming, they can. Or if they don't want to, you don't have to. Music streaming, you nailed it. If you don't find a benefit there, you don't have to use it. White or black, right? Like I think we're giving more towards providing a customized experience, dealer by dealer, user by user. And I think it's going to we're going to see that return in attrition. We're going to see it in attach rates and all of that. So personally, I like seeing changes like this kind of rock our industry a little bit to say we can do better and we can do more and we can really match what we're seeing, in a phone. And we're just applying that same experience to a home. And so it makes me excited because I really can create an experience that I want at my house. Okay, so the fifth one, this is the second one that you guys were really excited about, which is smart mount options. So smart mount is by far the easiest installation we've ever designed. I'm not an installer. I have installed, I don't know, maybe 3 panels before. And I went to ISC years ago, probably 3-4 years ago, before IQ Panel 4, we were doing IQ Panel 2. And I was installing IQ Panel 2 Plus and with the clam close. And Jason, I probably did it to you, where I'd install it and then I'd be like, I can't get this thing closed. So then I'd call a TAM over and be like, well, how do you do this? How do we close it? And then you have the pigtail antenna and everything. And it worked really well once you got the hang of it. And I got the hang of it and I was able to install, I think I installed 6 to 8 panels that day once I got the hang of it. But smart mount is totally a total game changer. Here's the video. You guys, I can't even tell you how hard it was for me to install IQ Panel 2. And then when I installed IQ Panel 4 at my house, well, my husband installed it. And then I was like, no, take it off. I need to, like, they're raving about this smart mount. I want to see what all the fuss is about. And I can't even tell you when I did it, I was like, oh, that was a lot easier than I thought it was going to be. And that click, I love that video because for me, that snap was so like, that was a lot easier for me. And it's just a brilliant new way to install the panel, like the video shows, and this will show you. It really was designed with care. And you have smart mount. Well, you know what, Jason, why don't you talk about it, because you're going to know better than I will.
Sure. So I know I've said this every time I spoke up, but this was a result of your guys' feedback. Whether you believe it or not, almost everything we do is based on customer feedback. Whitney said it. We internally refer to the IQ Panel 2 as a clamshell. You kind of got to break that apart. 95% of you have installed an IQ Panel 2, so you know exactly what I'm talking about. There was a learning curve with getting that panel shut and mounted on the wall correctly. So we want to make sure that there was no learning curve for IQ Panel 4, right? As you saw in the video, the backplate mounts, itself, and then the panel kind of hangs on those tabs and clicks into place. There's a locking screw underneath. You got to have the right screwdriver to get to that screw. But if you've got the right screwdriver, this is going to be a very easy panel to mount on the wall, right? Again, this was direct feedback from you guys. We wanted to make sure that we made it easier, more simple. And I will take this opportunity to speak to some of the changes that we're making to the backplate. So now that we've been installing IQ Panel 4, we've got a few thousand of these on the wall. We've gotten some good feedback. We're already tweaking and designing a new backplate to even improve this a little bit further. So as you can see down there on the bottom left, that's the current backplate design. Some improvements that we're making is we're adding some additional ribbing to stiffen up the backplate. We've gotten some feedback that on a textured wall or an uneven wall that maybe it's a little too flexible, so we're going to stiffen up the backplate a little bit. We are adding some additional holes there, so that top hole there at the top of the backplate is actually going to be ported out and bigger like the other two holes. So for mounting to gang boxes, right, you have a little bit more flexibility there. We are going to port out the holes on the bottom a little bit bigger. One piece of feedback that we got was that this backplate doesn't do well with bigger screws or panhead or round, button style screws, right? In some cases, depending on the size of screw, some dealers using a bigger, number 8 style button style screw, it can push the panel out a little bit and just make the panel maybe a tad more prone to panel tampers. So for now, if you're installing IQ Panel 4, we recommend a number 6 flathead screw for those bottom holes at least. That will help secure the panel to the backplate a little bit more. The new backplate that we're getting ready to cut in will have larger holes down there at the bottom. It will support a broader range of screws, so you can go use your number 8, panhead style screws if you want. So for the next few months, we want you guys to use a number 6 flathead screw with this backplate. Once we cut in this new backplate, you can use whatever you want, basically. We're adding a third hole on the bottom just above the locking screw. We've found that helps keep the backplate a little bit more secure to the wall and tighter to the panel. And then we're going to add some smart kind of pressure tabs on the backplate that will actually click into place on the IQ Panel 4. Again, just keeping the two a little bit tighter, a little bit more secure together. So again, believe it, don't believe it, we're big on customer feedback. Like I said, we have a few thousand of these installed already, and that was one piece of feedback that we've gotten. We're already underway in making changes. The backplates have been printed, they're on the test bench. We're testing these, and as long as this all checks out, we'll cut these in here in the next few weeks, and you'll start to see these probably early next year. So again, we love your feedback, send it our way, good, bad, and if we can make improvements and tweaks, we'll do it, right? This is a good example of that.
I'm a bit impressed that you guys are already on it so quickly, if I do say so myself. Good job. I didn't know any of that, so I am glad that you joined today. I do like how the install uses the tabs on all, no matter how you install it, it's going to be the same experience. The other thing is the pigtail antenna. That antenna was something that I always struggled with. So having a wall bracket that you just plug and go, it's literally plug and click, right? Yeah. So I like that. And it was inspired by smart thermostats, right? Because that's similar.
So you can see here in this video, you have the terminal block on the backplate. It's not on the panel anymore. So with IQ Panel 2, we had to mount the backplate, hang the panel off with that kind of third hand strap, and try to do the wiring with the panel kind of flopping and hanging into the wall, right? With IQ Panel 4, it's similar to a thermostat. The terminal block is built into the backplate. We mount the backplate on the wall. We can run our wires. We get everything all set up and good, and then we swing our panel onto place, and it's ready to go. So taking a page out of the thermostats that we're used to installing book, and trying to simplify the mounting process here a little bit even further with that terminal block built into the backplate.
Yeah, as someone who, when I hung all these pictures, I used toothpaste to mark where the hangers are, because I am very handy. Obviously, I still call a drill a screwdriver occasionally. I'm not handy at all. I'm trying, but I'm not. But coming from and having experience, that's my background, and then having installed mine, it was a game changer from IQ Panel 2 to IQ Panel 4. I've never installed anything else. I've never installed other panels or anything older than that. So my experience is limited, but I can tell you it's easier than installing my photos. So for me, it was. So it's easily the fastest, most professional install that we've created yet. So I know the team's really proud of SmartMount, and I must say, having nothing to do with SmartMount myself personally, I'm pretty dang proud of your team, Jason, for stepping up and creating something that's so easy. And then hearing that you're already taking feedback from the field is fantastic. For the dealers on the call right now, if you want to provide feedback, a great way to do it is if you join our Facebook groups. There's, what are the groups called? There's alarm.com installers and Qualsys installers group. There's a Qualsys technician group, and there's a sales and marketing group, right? Did I miss any?
Yeah, there's a sales and marketing group. There's an alarm.com and Qualsys installers page, and then there's an official Qualsys installers page. They're both good pages. Between the two of them, there's thousands of members. It's a closed group. These are all, installers themselves. They're fully admin by the JCI technical account management team. So that's, when we built these pages, when we turned them on, we kind of expected that would be a place that we could post TSBs, maybe some marketing updates, right? Try to engage a little bit with our dealers. That very quickly turned into probably our best tech support resource that we have. You can call in and talk, wait on hold and talk to tech support. You can email tech support. You can try to get a hold of one of your TAMs, but you can also post a question on Facebook. And within minutes, you're going to have 10 answers from guys that are installing these panels daily. You may get an answer from somebody on our team, right? Someone from the technical account management team. So, we've got engineers watching that page. We've got product managers watching that page. We see that feedback. We see your comments. We pay attention to it. And of course, we're answering your questions. So if you're out in the field and you're allowed to use Facebook on your work phone, I would definitely recommend posting your questions on there, because they'll probably get answered quicker than they would maybe by even calling into tech support. So we love that page for that reason. Those pages. Yeah.
I don't think that we can talk about the installation experience, even with SmartMount, without talking about the UI. I know that the dealers I've talked to, well, here, let's watch the video first. My favorite thing in talking with dealers is their concern. Well, I'd like to leave this on here, but I don't want the sound to keep going. Okay, they're always concerned about switching to a different panel because of the learning curve, right? Like, it's a brand new system. We got to learn how to program. We got to learn how to interact with it. And it can get complicated, right? Your teams have had to know so many different things over the years and all the different options that maybe your group offers. But the great thing about IQ Panel 4 is it's the same UI. It's the same, it still has that install wizard that'll help protect the integrity of your install and ensure it's done right. It still has the swipe-based function, everything's still located at the settings and all of that. Programming is all the same. So when it comes to your protocols, when you switch from IQ Panel 2 Plus to IQ Panel 4, or you're making the big switch to IQ Panel 4, your experience is one solution, and it works in any scenario, especially given all the other choices that you have, right? What SRF are you going to choose? What kind of install are you doing? Are you doing residential? Are you doing commercial? Are you doing a new home build? Are you doing MDU? You have so many different options, and your team just has to know one interface. And I think that is super powerful. And it's all supported by alarm.com programming and troubleshooting and things like that that really help make it remote managed, right? So if you've got an issue with a sensor or something like that, you can investigate from your computer, from your home, in your underwear, I don't know, and you can actually see what's going on with the system, and it saves you money, prevents rolling a truck and all of that. So I'm a big fan of having the same UI. We do have plans to make it even better, but that's down the road, and you guys will definitely be part of that. But on-screen diagnostics, I know, Jason, for you for your group is groundbreaking. Just to have it built in and to be able to see what's going on in a system is so helpful to what you guys are doing. So UI is a big one that I like too. I feel like I keep saying that. I like all the changes, but UI seems to make a big impact. Jason, do you have anything to add?
No, I mean, other than, I'll just expand on what you said a little bit. We talked a lot about this panel over the last year. We talked a lot about the new UI and the customizable UI and all the cool changes coming. Due to timing, we needed to get the panel out before we ran out of IQ Panel 2s, right? Supply chain issues, all that fun stuff. So we we pulled the customizable UI that we were talking about so that we could get the panel out on time. So we are still planning on finishing the customizable UI. We will release that next year. But when we first polled and decided to stick with the IQ Panel 2 UI, admittedly at the beginning I was a little bummed by that. But it actually has turned into a major positive, right? All of our dealers are saying that they love the fact that they can cut this panel in without having to retrain their techs, right? They have to do very little marketing changes. They don't have to change their installation docs. The UI is the exact same UI we know with the IQ Panel 2. So dealers are excited by the fact that we can cut this thing overnight. We don't have to retrain our techs. It's going to be a very seamless transition. So it's actually turned into a major positive. Now, when we do release the new UI, it's going to be an optional upgrade, right? Use it, don't use it. Cut it in a year from now. Cut it in for 2 years from now. Never cut it in, right? It's going to be, you guys are going to have the option to choose between the current UI that you're used to or cutting over to the new UI. And so again, we're giving you guys that flexibility. Do you want the new one? Do you want to keep doing what you're doing? Maybe you don't want to retrain your technicians. Maybe your customers have, given you good feedback about the current UI. Up to you guys, right? We're going to give you guys that flexibility. But again, yeah, the ability to cut this in, any one of you guys could pick this up and go install it tomorrow without any training, right? The only real changes that you'll notice is, the physical changes, right? The smart mount, the way it goes on the wall. But as far as the programming, everything that you've done, from the actual screen itself, it's going to feel exactly like it was with IQ Panel 2. So easy transition, right?
Yeah, I mean, the more I'm just sold on, I haven't done a presentation yet on IQ Panel 4 to a large group of people. I've done it internally quite a bit, but the more I hear you talk, Jason, the more solidified I get, and I'm just sold on the fact that it's so customizable. It can fit, you can do whatever you want to fit your business. You can do whatever you want to fit your end user. It really is a choose your own adventure kind of thing, right? Which I haven't seen yet. I sat in on trainings on other panels to try to get like a good weigh-in and a good, what's the word I'm looking for? A good adversary to kind of compare and see what I like, what I don't, and all of that. But I love that it's so choose what you want. And I mean, IQ Panel 2 features that you guys, I'm sure most of you we're installing IQ Panel 2, so you're very familiar with these. Bluetooth touchless disarming, live answer, live view, disarm photos, peek in now, built-in glass break detector, and then of course the photo frame images. These are all things that when we launched them with IQ Panel 2 Plus, it shook our dealers at first because they hadn't considered all of those things. So IQ Panel 4 still has all of this, and those are things we didn't even talk about. So we're just taking all of IQ Panel 2, building it into IQ Panel 4, and just adding to it. We don't want to lose any of the ground we've gained so far. So you've really, and again, you still, with all of these things, you have options. You can take that photo frame and turn it into dealer branding. You can take Bluetooth and decide, this customer doesn't want it, we're not going to use it. There's so many different things you can do with it. And they should all be promoted because I think end users, some of the time we kind of have to tell them what they're looking for in a security system. You want a security system that can be more than what it appears, right? You want a security system that can also be smart home, that can also be energy efficient, that can also fit all of these different things. You're someone who's really tech savvy and you want the experience, the coming home experience of touchless Bluetooth disarming where my lights turn on, my thermostat adjusts, my garage door opens maybe when I pull up. If you really want that, guess what? We can build it for you. And so sometimes we got to share that with the end users and kind of tell them you can. And that's what's so great about IQ Panel 4 and kind of building onto that, whether you're installing in a residential, small business, or even large commercial, a wellness scenario, MDU, IQ Panel 4 does more than look good on the wall, look good on a table stand and work, but it really can expand your business if that's what you're looking to do, or even if you want to explore that option, you can. And you don't have to retrain your team. You don't have to go through this big, long thing of trying to figure out what's best, what's not. You're using IQ Panel 4, guess what? You decide you want to do wellness? Yes, let's start tomorrow. Like you can. You guys are already trained in it. There's a few more things you need to know, but other than that, yeah. I talked to a dealer a while ago where they had called me, they'd called our 800 number and I had answered and they're like, so I just sold an elderly home. Can you do that? And he's like, is this a solution for that? And it was kind of fun talking to him because it's like, yeah, you got it. We can definitely do that. So if you're looking to find other avenues of revenue, we definitely have that opportunity. And again, it's a pick as you go. So no matter what you're doing, we can create a unique package of differentiating features that set you apart from any other competitor on the market. So that's why I like IQ Panel 4. Let's see, comments. Is the marketing collateral available with IQ Panel 4 images that we can get our hands in? Anthony, I'm glad you asked. I work in the marketing department. So everything on the dealer portal is current. And if you're on there and you're not seeing something that you want or that you need, go ahead and reach out to us, or you can email me directly. My email is whitney.a.white@jci.com, and I'm happy to help you. We do have more things in the works. We've got a really, really great YouTube playlist that showcases all of the IQ Panel 4 differentiating features. And there you've got commercials, you've got teaser videos that are super short, and then you've got feature videos that are like 30 seconds long. So they're great for social media, great for showing a customer something if they're confused, and a good visual. And we do have more coming. So Anthony, to answer that question, I know that one. Okay. How difficult is the new UI that training a tech is a problem, asks Frank. Frank, good question. I have seen the new UI. I've interacted with the new UI. Jason, I'm confident you have as well. The new UI, the same way, I remember when we launched IQ Panel 2 with the swipe-based UI and everything like that, we took, what was it? It was like a 12-year-old came in office, and Jeremy McLaren, my boss, he's so funny. He was like, hey, here's the door sensor, 12-year-old, why don't you try to install it? Just have a go, see what you think would make sense. And that little kid took that device and he's playing with the panel and he swipes down and he clicks on settings and he just goes through it. And I was sitting there, and I had only been working for the company, I don't know, maybe a year or two. And I was like, holy cow, it really is intuitive. I'd been told it was intuitive, but to see it on somebody else who's not even from the industry was like, oh my gosh. We did the same thing with the new UI. And while it's still being built out and not fully functional to test all the way through programming and everything like that, quite the way you would in a real life scenario, the same thing happened. So the new UI, Jason, what do you think about? What do you think about that answer?
Yeah, the new UI is going to be probably as intuitive as the current UI, or maybe even more intuitive. So when we say seamless transition, a lot of you dealers are going to be able to pick up the new UI and install it the next day without any training, right? You're exactly right. But some of the larger dealers don't like that. They don't want to roll out something new without putting their techs through training. That's just the way they work. So it's less about you guys picking it up and being able to understand it, as it is more about some of the larger dealers and some of the the training requirements that they put in place. But it's also about marketing material. It's about installation documentation, right? It's about stuff like that. So it's not about it. It's not so much about it being more difficult. It's just about making the transition that much easier, right? And it was also about allowing us to get the panel out a little bit quicker. So combine those two together, and here we are today, right, with the UI that we have. So not a hard UI at all, but just going to make the transition, which happened a little quicker than we maybe would have liked it to happen, a little smoother for some of the dealers out there. And again, once we get the UI, turn it on, enable it, and you're off to the races with it, right?
Yeah, I think we're going to see a lot less confusion on the new UI that might be anticipated from the dealer base. So I'm excited to see it go out. Anthony has a follow-up question. If you have the current UI, can you do a firmware upgrade to switch to the new one when it's available? I think you can, right? That's the plan.
So that'll be something that will be supported over a firmware update, and an option that you can enable remotely from learn.com. So maybe you want to go back and turn it on for existing customers, great, right? Maybe you want to cut it in on new installations going forward, great, right? But every panel will support that via software update. Yeah. So
we have so many exciting things coming down the pipeline that we can talk about. We could have a whole series on just what we want to do.
IQ Panel 2, this slide that we're looking at, the slide before, kind of puts into perspective everything we've done over the last few years, right? When the panel first came out, it was fairly basic, right? It was very much a security panel. It was residential only, but thanks to Android, thanks to our hardware, thanks to the ability to do over-the-air software updates, we've added all sorts of features, built-in glass breaks, videos, the ability to treat the camera like an image sensor, motion detection, right? I mean, you name it. We've been able to do this all over software. We've been able to turn it from a residential panel into a commercial panel, into a wellness panel, into an MDU panel, right? We've done some stuff for the builder vertical. This is all done over the air via software updates, right? So the IQ Panel 2 over the last few years has evolved into something totally different than what we launched. And that's what's going to happen with IQ Panel 4. In fact, we've gotten some feedback that, when you pull the IQ Panel 4 out of the box, that it might seem a little underwhelming, right? It feels kind of like an IQ Panel 2 in new plastics. But the reality is we've completely overhauled the internals of that panel, right? The hardware has been completely upgraded from the ground up. We've doubled down on hardware, on processing speeds, because we know that over the next 5 years, we want to throw all sorts of cool, fun features at it, right? A good example is, turning that camera into a live streaming camera. We couldn't do that, on the IQ Panel 2. We're going to be able to support bigger, better, more, powerful features like that on IQ Panel 4. So the IQ Panel 4 will evolve. More features will come. We've got a really exciting roadmap this year. Got a lot of cool big features that we have planned for this year, and that's all going to be rolled out to you guys via over-the-air software updates. So we're excited about what's going to come on IQ Panel 4. A lot of cool stuff coming.
Yeah, and with that, I mean, IQ Panel 4 is available now at your favorite distributor. So here's kind of a summary. We are missing a couple folks on this list of distributors, so I'm working to update that, but this is a good comprehensive list of where we're at. And then if you're looking at, like Jason said, you've got really the IQ Panel 4 and even the IQ Panel 2 in some cases is a multiple solutions with one SKU. You don't need a commercial panel when you're doing a commercial install. You can use IQ Panel 4. You can use 319 frequency for, like, it's just so simple. It's such a simple answer to so many different problems that exist out on the market and so many unique scenarios. And then you combine with some of the other things we have on our product line, and it's like, you don't have to look any further. So one thing to keep in mind is with all of the different security frequencies, PowerG is included in all of them. So you are getting that best encrypted, longest range wireless technology. And with PowerG, I don't know if you've seen the portfolio of devices, but there are so many PowerG devices that are so specific to what you could run into. So we're very proud of that. And then to sum it up, IQ Panel 4 has better range, better speed in every way. You've got better choices with just a basic white or black, or what kind of table mount, wall mount, IQ base stand you want to use. A better camera with new flex tilt, better sound and with music streaming, and then a better install with smart mount. It's just, at the end of the day, better in every way. So that's kind of where we're at with IQ Panel 4 and the differentiators. And that's all that I have. So we have a poll. I think it's up on the screen right now. When choosing a flavor of IQ Panel, I would most likely use, and then go ahead and choose which one so we can kind of figure out where you guys are at. And we will open it up to questions. We've got 7 minutes left. If you guys want to hold on the line, we can answer those questions for you. So I think currently, let's see. Will there be a new IQ Panel remote to support IQ Panel 4? Jason, there is an IQ Panel remote that is going to be launched in the next month or two. That's PowerG based, right?
Yes, so that's a great question, Frank. And I'm excited to share with you guys that yes, we are building a new IQ remote. Probably actually is going to be a little bit longer than 1 or 2 months. We're probably looking sometime late one of next year, probably is when it could get in your guys' hands. But yes, we are building a IQ remote that is 100% based on PowerG. So no more Wi-Fi issues, right? No more IQ remotes dropping offline. No more setting up MAC reservations. No more putting in repeaters, right? We are building an IQ remote that will communicate 100% on PowerG. So we love PowerG. We love how reliable it is. We love the range. That's coming to an IQ remote, and that will be available, I would say, probably late Q1, beginning of Q2 of next year. So we're excited.
I didn't even know we were building a new remote until a couple days ago. So it makes sense that I'm a little off base there. I'm excited.
Everybody's asked for, right? Everybody's asking this. This is something that we've been, looking into for a very long time. So excited to officially announce, I guess, here that yes, to you guys, IQ Remote PowerG is coming. We're excited about this. Yep, very excited.
Okay, other questions. Let's see. David's asking, what's the life expectancy on the screens of the IQ panels? I have a guess. but I don't know for sure. Do you know the answer to that?
Yeah, the screens are, the screens are built, to last the life of the system. Now that being said, we do have, I think the reason David asked is he's probably seen some screens go bad. It's not so much about the screen, right? There's 100 different things that can go wrong in the panel that would represent themselves as a dead screen, right? So a dead screen isn't just a dead screen. It could be a bad screen, it could be a bad LCD screen, but it could also be, an LCD driver that went bad. It could be, a power surge that killed the panel. It could be, something wrong with the processor, right? So there's a number of things that can cause a screen to go bad. So it's not like we're, putting in bad screens that are cheap and are breaking down, right? There's just so many things behind the screen that can go wrong that result in a black screen, right? So it's not so much life expectancy issue with screens. It's more of there's other issues that can cause a screen to go bad. Screens going bad is probably one of the issues that we see more of. But again, there's 100 different things that can cause that. So it's not so much isolated to a bad screen, if you will.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Okay, so Joe's asking, can you set up the IQ panel to only communicate over Wi-Fi?
Great question. Now, technically, yes. We don't give you guys the ability to disable the cell radio. That's something that we've kind of worked with alarm.com, but we're hesitant to just rely on Wi-Fi for that reason. So you actually can't disable the cell radio, but technically the panel will work 100% on Wi-Fi, right? So we have a lot of dealers that are installing this panel in cabins and areas that don't have cell signal, and they'll connect them to Wi-Fi, and they'll run 100% on Wi-Fi. That's no problem. But just know that there is no way to disable the cell radio. So technically, the panels, there's always going to be notification letting the end user know that the cell radio is not working, right? So as long as they can live with that red bubble, in the top right corner of the panel, with a message saying that the cell's not communicating, the panel can work 100% on Wi-Fi. So not technically, obviously a supported, recommended way to go about it, but yeah, we have some dealers that do set them up 100% on Wi-Fi and they work just fine, right? So
that red bubble would drive me nuts. I'm someone who keeps my emails clean, text message clean. I can't.
So, yeah, to each his own, right? So if you can live with the bubble, it can work on 100% Wi-Fi, but yeah, unfortunately, there's no way to totally disable, that red bubble, the notification of the cellular not working. Yeah. Okay.
I think we've answered all the questions. We've got a lot of feedback that people are excited about the IQ Panel 4, and I agree. So I'm with you on that. So, okay, well, I'll hang on the line a little bit longer, but let's wrap it up. You guys have things to do and IQ Panel 4s to sell, right? So let's do that. Again, if you guys have questions, you can email me, whitney.a.white@jci.com. Jason, thank you so much for joining. Thank you guys for your participation. Mark, thanks for staying on and answering those questions. I really appreciate your guys' time. If you want to come back and watch again, we're going to post this live on We're going to post it on YouTube of the live recording, we'll say. So if you want to see my son again, you can definitely watch it again.
I'll plug our trainings. We have a full 2-hour IQ Panel 4 technical training coming up on December 1st. We put some posts in on Facebook for that to register. In fact, maybe if Mark has that available, if you wouldn't mind dropping that in the chat for everybody. If you want to go through a 2-hour technical training, we're going to do that on December 1st. And then we also have a weekly technical workshop that you guys can register for. So I'm sure some of you are registered for that. Those are very focused trainings. We try to do them, 25 minutes or less. We focus on one individual feature, we answer some questions, and we wrap it up. So we do those technical workshops right now weekly, and we're doing a full 2-hour technical training December 1st. So if you're interested in those, we'll drop some links in the chat here before we wrap it up. If you don't get to those links before we shut this thing down, go to Facebook. We've posted those on Facebook as well, and make sure you get registered for those. So.
Yes, and that's a good point. I'll make sure that we add the links to those webinars for you guys to register in the follow-up email to this. So no matter what, you'll get it in your inbox tomorrow, or you can hop on to Facebook right now. I would recommend you do that so that you're part of the group. The other thing is, if you want IQ Panel 4 assets and things like that, as previously mentioned, Dealer Portal is constantly being updated with those. So just because you don't see something, today doesn't mean you won't see it by Friday. And if there's something missing, again, let us know. We want to be there to help. If you want to talk more, we are open and willing to talk more about IQ Panel 4, cater it specifically to your business or any questions you have. So thanks again for your time. I appreciate it, you guys. I hope you have a great day, and we will talk soon. Thanks, Jason.
No problem. Have a good one, guys.